Hey folks, Nathan here from Star Wars Beyond the Films, the Star Wars Timeline Gold, and the Star Wars Reports Rebels Roundtable, bringing you another look at a Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars item as it arrives. This is X-Wing's first Imperial huge ship, the Imperial Raider. Now, there's a lot to cover here as far as what it includes. We're talking about something that's $100 retail, or $99.95. So there better be a lot of stuff in here. I'm going to hold my comments on certain aspects of the model itself till the end because they might only affect me, and I want to be fair here. Not so much a review as just a content list, as is often the case. Bear in mind, as I sweep through here, there will be an extra TIE Advanced here. There will be a Corvette and freighter here, Rebel Transport here off to the side. I just want to have these up here to be able to make some size comparisons. Those are not included in the set. That TIE Advanced, that sort of grayish one, and the Corvette and the Transport. They are not part of the Imperial Raider set. Everything else you're going to see on the table here is. Alright, so paperwork. We've got a rulebook. We've got a mission booklet for the mission The Will of the Empire, an Imperial-focused one to a degree. And of course we have to have a campaign progress sheet to keep track of it. It's another of these branching campaigns, which I always find kind of neat to play. And of course you've got the star of the show, the massive Imperial Raider, or Raider-class Corvette. This is an original ship created by Fantasy Flight Games. The first time they've been allowed to essentially create a new vessel for the Star Wars continuity. Whether it's Legends or canon, yeah, we'll see. This is a game, as I move the box out of the way here, this is a game that seems to be sort of threading the line between Legends and canon. Up till now, everything's been based on the Legends continuity, but they are going to be introducing things like the Ghost from Rebels into the game soon. My guess, they're playing it the same way they do with video games, which is essentially saying we're going to check it for authenticity with the story group, but not necessarily for being part of a particular continuity. So anyway, there's a quick once-over of your ship here. Kind of this weird Star Destroyer-looking thing with these edge pieces that look kind of like a TIE fighter. There's also ones down on the bottom there. We'll see as I move this around here in a little bit. Let's look at the other contents. You have a TIE Advanced, very much like the Rebel Transport came with a X-Wing, or an extra X-Wing. Bear in mind here, there is a slight difference between this one and the original one. This is the original from the expansion pack. It's kind of grayish, and just like a lot of the more recent TIE fighters have been more bluish, so is this TIE Advanced. So you can easily tell which one, if we put them side by side here, which one is from which, because there's an obvious blue versus gray type coloration issue here. Now, moving into pieces, we have our gigantic ship token here, of course, for the Raider-class Corvette. Just the one of those with just a blank other side. We have the maneuver token here that, of course, we need to use, or the maneuver template, to use with the Raider. We have our ship tokens for that TIE Advance. We have Lieutenant Coslet with Tempest Squadron's pilot on the back. We have, excuse me, I am just having trouble with my throat here. We have a Commander Aldzin with Tempest Squadron pilot on the back. We've got Juno Eclipse, of course, from The Force Unleashed, with Storm Squadron pilot, and Zertic Strom with Storm Squadron, not Strom, but Storm Squadron pilot on the back. We should, of course, have matching ship cards, and we do. Juno Eclipse, Zertic Strom, Commander Alozin, or Aldzin. Can never really tell if that's a D or an O. I think it's supposed to be an O, so Alozin. Lieutenant Colzette, Storm Squadron pilot, and Tempest Squadron pilot. We then, of course, need to have a couple of ship cards for the fore and aft sections of the actual Raider. So here they are, right? And just like what we saw with the other ones, you flip it over and it's a battle-damaged version of the same ship. And, of course, we need our maneuver dials. There we go for TIE Advanced and Raider-class Corvette. Of course, we got the little energy dots on there because it's a large ship. It's a huge class ship for epic or cinematic play. We have our huge range ruler here, like we got with the Tantive 4 or the Corellian Corvette set. We have a total of, I guess it's 13 different mission tokens Got these little satellite-looking ones, 5 big ones, 5 small ones, and then 4 that look like basically rebel ships that have been destroyed. We have our proof of purchase, of course, and then 4 ion tokens. We then have 16 energy tokens. We then have 12 shield tokens. We have an evade token, a focus token, and a reinforce token. 1 stress token. We have a set of target lock tokens. It's double M on one side, double N on the other. We have 10 fore and 10 aft damage cards for the Raider itself. And then, of course, one of the other big highlights of any set like this, a hell of a lot of upgrade cards. So let's start across the top here. We've got quad laser cannons, and again, quad laser cannons. Engine booster, backup shield generator, comms booster, proton rockets. We then have Tabana gas supplies and 4 ion cannon battery cards. Sensor team. We have cluster missiles, engineering team, single turbo lasers, another single turbo lasers, shield technician, another shield technician, and gunnery team. We have advanced targeting computer, 2 side by side there, plus another for a total of 4. And then the ones that are really the cool ones, right? The titles and the individual characters for crew members. We have the title Instigator, Impetuous, and a sailor for the Raider itself. Then we've got our crew members here. We've got Admiral Ozzel, right? Kendall Ozzel. Emperor Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine, ugh. We have Grand Moff Tarkin. We have Captain Nita, right? Apologies accepted and all that. And then in case you're playing with a lot of TIE Advanced, we have 4 instances of TIE X1, or by 1, some people say it, right? Which is going to be a TIE Advanced title to beef it up just a little bit beyond a regular TIE Advanced. Lots of stuff here, as you would expect for something that's $100. A very cool ship to add. It's nice to see that when they realized that, frankly, you can't do Star Destroyers in X-Wing because they're too freaking huge, if they can swallow up the Tantive or a Corvette inside their docking bay, no way could you ever have a Star Destroyer in X-Wing. Unless it's like a playmat shaped like a Star Destroyer and you're fighting your way out of a docking area or something. There's just no way to make that a miniature. Because even as a miniature, it'd be huge. So they decided to come up with this sort of Star Destroyer-esque ship, make it similar in size to the Corvette, and then the Imperials get something as a huge ship to play with. They still only have 1 compared to the Rebels 2, but you may recall that the transport's not much of a fighter so much as it's more of a support vehicle. Now, let me move some things here and show you this side by side if I can do it without losing my stands here. Notice size-wise, obviously the Tantive or Corvette is significantly longer than the transport, but if you look here, you just barely see it from this angle. The Raider is actually longer if you line up the back ends. It's a little tough. It looks like it's a tiny, tiny bit longer than the Corvette is, just by the tiniest bit. I don't want to accidentally send them falling off of the table. But just by a tiny bit. So it's comparable in size to the Corvette if you're used to playing with that and you're thinking about, well, am I going to have space to put this in to store it while I'm not playing? It's about that size. So if you can store the Tantive 4, here's something you can store that's, equivalent just about in size. Very cool looking, kind of drab colors, but the Empire tends to do that. Color scheme, of course, reminiscent of the original TIE Advance. It's more gray than blue, but definitely something that's easily recognizable as Imperial by its wedge shape and its color. So for that, I would say if you're an Imperial player, definitely pick this one up. I think it is certainly a good value as far as game materials and as far as being able to play now with a huge ship for the Imperials, which is the only one that's available. So, it's kind of you're out of luck if you don't want to pick up a Raider. However, I do want to point out sort of a buyer beware type of thing here when it comes to the model itself. My experience with Fantasy Flight Games and their products has generally been very, very positive in terms of the quality of the items themselves. Actually, the only time I've ever had a miniature be broken upon arrival was actually this original TIE Advanced, where I had to attach its wing, one of its wings back on. It was broken inside the package. When the Raider showed up, I was immediately pissed as soon as I started using the actual item, before even trying to play with the thing. Few reasons. Let's see if we can cause one of them here. Yes, there we go. We just caused one of them here. So I try to lift up the ship. Obviously, you have to take your little bases and plug them in, right? Oh, and we just caused a new one right there. I'll be damned. So you take a look in here, and you take a look here. Those are supposed to be little plastic cylinders to stick the base into, but you notice the little plastic cylinders are still stuck to the prongs. They came completely out of the frickin' ship. The first time I put the front one in, boom, out comes the little plastic piece that's supposed to sit there. It's supposed to be a prong, kind of like this, right? Or like this. Supposed to be a little plastic prong. Well, there's your frickin' prongs still attached to the stands, completely coming out of the ship itself. I had a little port in there and out of here. So the ports completely came apart. Also, you got these cool TIE Fighter type wings. Well, okay, if they look right. You take a look here, this is not symmetrical. This piece is skewed this direction, so it's not even when you actually look at the way that the pieces come together for the ship there. You do the same thing from the top. This set of wings comes in much further than this one. The angle is off, and if you look at the side here, it's bent all the shit and folding down so it doesn't come up the way this one does and sort of frame the side. It smushes into the side because, again, they are bent in. This is the first time, aside from that one TIE Advance, that I've ever seen a product arrive in that bad of shape from what appears to be simply poor manufacturing. I have contacted Fantasy Flight Games. I am hoping they will be able to do a product replacement or a piece replacement. I know they'll do it for small stuff. I don't know if they'll do it for an entire ship. So all I can say is, if you're going to pick one of these up, definitely it's sort of a buyer beware. Apparently, it is very easy for these to not be in the kind of condition you would expect when opening them up straight out of the box, if my example is any example to go by. Hopefully I'll hear back from Fantasy Flight Games. If I do, I'll put that into the description down below, possibly even give you a quick comparison if they replace it between one that's better versus this one as a separate video. But for now, I simply await hearing back from them and basically eyeing a tube of super glue or modeling glue in hopes of actually putting these prongs back where they're supposed to be so that I can use the ship the way it's supposed to be instead of having these gimped out, screwed up prongs and ports stuck together instead of having the ports actually built into the ship. Kinda sad. So, to play with, awesome. Value for the money in terms of game materials, pretty solid, especially since you can get this at places like Miniature Market for about 60 or 70 bucks rather than 100. But the product itself, mine at least, pretty poorly put together. Awesome looking, but pretty poorly put together. Hopefully your experience will be better than mine. Sadly, you won't be able to really tell just by looking at it inside the box. So just be aware. Keep an eye on things and hope that the place that you went through maybe has a return policy, or that Fantasy Flight Games is good on their word as far as replacing screwed up components with the entire freaking ship if you get a situation like mine. Just keep that in mind.